I'm Walter. Every year, thousands of retirees move to Florida chasing the dream. And just as quietly, a lot of them start packing up to leave again. Today, we're looking at 10 Florida towns where that's happening the fastest, and why. Cape Coral built its reputation as the boating capital of Southwest Florida. More canals than Venice, waterfront living at what once felt like a steal. For years, that pitch worked. Retirees bought in, pictured a quiet life on the water, and settled in. Then came the insurance bills. Cape Coral sits in one of the highest-risk flood and hurricane zones in the state, and after Hurricane Ian tore through in 2022, premiums here didn't just rise, they multiplied. Some longtime residents have watched their annual insurance costs double or triple in just a few years. For retirees living on a fixed income, that kind of jump isn't an inconvenience. It's a forced decision. A growing number are selling at a loss just to get out from under the bills, moving inland or leaving the state entirely. Port St. Lucie built its reputation as the affordable alternative to Palm Beach, close enough to the coast without the coastal price tag. Retirees moved in by the tens of thousands over the last decade chasing exactly that. The problem is the town grew faster than its own infrastructure could keep up. Roads built for a fraction of the current population now clog during what used to be quiet hours. More seriously, the area's healthcare system, critical for an aging population, hasn't expanded at the same pace. Some retirees who moved here specifically for an easier retirement say wait times for basic specialist care have become long enough that they're now driving an hour or more just to see a doctor. And for some, that alone has been the deciding factor to move on. Bonita Springs sold itself as a quieter, smaller alternative to Naples, still coastal, still upscale, but supposedly without the price tag. For a while, that held true. As the area's popularity caught up with it, though, so did the cost. Property values climbed fast, and with them, property tax reassessments hit anyone whose home was reappraised at its new, much higher market value. Retirees who bought here specifically because it was supposed to be the affordable option are now paying property taxes that rival the Naples prices they were trying to avoid in the first place. Fort Myers has spent years trying to rebuild its identity after Hurricane Ian devastated the area in 2022. For newer arrivals expecting a fresh start, the reality on the ground has been different than advertised. Years later, entire neighborhoods are still under active construction, and the noise, dust, and disruption of a city mid-rebuild isn't what most retirees pictured when they signed up for a quiet retirement. On top of that, insurance costs here track closely with Cape Coral's, some of the highest in the state, which has left a number of recent transplants deciding the rebuild simply isn't worth waiting out. Naples has always marketed itself as one of Florida's premier retirement destinations, and for wealthier retirees, it still delivers. But the town's popularity has become its own problem for everyone else. Cost of living here has crept upward every year, not just in real estate, but in everyday expenses. Dining, services, even groceries priced for the area's growing luxury market. Retirees who moved to Naples a decade ago on a comfortable but fixed income are increasingly finding themselves priced out of the town they already live in, forced to choose between downsizing drastically or relocating somewhere less expensive. Sarasota built a reputation as a cultured, walkable, arts-friendly retirement town, a step above the typical Florida sprawl. That reputation is exactly what's driving the town's current growing pains. As word got out, Sarasota's popularity surged, and with it, traffic on roads that were never designed for the current volume. What used to be a quiet, easy-to-navigate town now regularly sees congestion that longtime residents say wasn't part of the original pitch. For some retirees, the trade-off of culture and walkability against daily traffic frustration has tipped the other way. The Villages remains one of the most recognized retirement communities in the country, and for most residents, it still delivers exactly what it promises. But a growing minority of longtime residents are quietly heading elsewhere. As the community has expanded, so have amenity and HOA fees year after year, to the point where some residents on fixed income say the costs now rival what they were trying to escape in the first place. And because the community is built entirely around a single active retirement lifestyle, Some residents find that as they age further into their 70s and 80s, the total isolation from a broader, cross-generational community starts to wear on them in ways they didn't expect. At 65, Boca Raton has long been one of South Florida's most desirable addresses. Upscale, well-located, close to everything. For retirees who could afford it, that was the appeal. The challenge is that Boca's cost of living has only climbed further out of reach for anyone not already wealthy. Between rising property taxes, insurance premiums among the highest in South Florida, and a cost of everyday living that keeps pace with some of the priciest parts of the state, a number of retirees who moved here on a comfortable retirement budget a decade ago now find that budget no longer stretches far enough. Jacksonville's suburbs have quietly become a popular landing spot for retirees looking for a coastal-adjacent lifestyle without South Florida prices. For years, that pitch held up well. The catch shows up after the sale closes. Florida reassesses property taxes based on the new purchase price, not the previous owner's older, lower assessment, meaning new buyers can end up with a tax bill dramatically higher than what the previous homeowner was paying for the same house. Retirees who budgeted based on the area's advertised affordability are sometimes caught off guard when their actual tax bill arrives. And for some, that gap is enough to reconsider the move entirely. Punta Gorda built its reputation as a charming, affordable waterfront alternative to the bigger coastal cities. Marinas, harbor views, small-town feel. For years, it delivered exactly that. Then Hurricane Ian made a direct hit on the area in 2022, and the rebuilding process has been slow for a town of its size. Insurance premiums for waterfront and marina-adjacent properties here are now among the steepest in the state, and a number of retirees who bought into the charm of harbor living a few years before the storm have found the ongoing cost of protecting that property no longer makes financial sense. So what's actually going on here? It's not that Florida stopped being Florida. It's that the exact features that drew people in the first place, waterfront access, rapid growth, rising popularity, are the same features now pricing a growing number of them back out. The dream didn't disappear. For a lot of retirees, it just got a lot more expensive to keep living in. If you've made a move like one of these, or you're watching your own town head this direction, tell us about it in the comments. I'm Walter. Please subscribe, and thank you for watching.